now, having given you a cursory idea, we will go to the question. So the question is, the first sloka says that everything is Om. The second sloka, that everything is Brahman. So are Om and Brahman the same. The second sloka says Atman is Brahman. I am Atma Brahman. My Atman is also Brahman. So is Om also the Atman? What is the relationship between Om, Brahman and Atman? Now, from the ultimate point of view, they say, I am saying using again Upanishadic language, Iti Shushruma Purvesham. So the ancient said. The Rishi doesn't say I am saying. So they say that in the ultimate essence, there is nothing but the Brahman. Nothing left except that. And please don't think that this is only the teaching that has come to us from Hindu sources, because there are some people who love Buddhism more than Hindu. It's okay, doesn't matter. It's only different approaches. In Malayalam we have a saying, Muttatte mulleke manamilla. In my own garden the jasmine doesn't smell so good. The other garden, in Tibet it smells better. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, even among the ancient teachings do you know that the Mahayana Buddhists, from the earliest teaching which came from Padmasambhava, are called the Nyingmapas. They are the earliest Buddhists. And they are the ones who hold the teachings of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. And in the Mahamudra and Dzogchen teachings, there is no better textbook to read than there is something called the 69 Maxims of Dzogchen, if you can get hold of it. It says in the originals, they don't call it Brahman. It is the primordial mind. They call it the primordial mind, that which is there as it is with no movement. It is the ultimate, the supreme, the blissful. Everything that happens rises like a wave from it and goes back to it. So they say constantly in your meditation, remember whatever you are doing, in the ultimate essence you are doing nothing, because in its essence, originally, it is always free. This is the Mahamudra actually. Not that you shouldn't do anything, but for that, you need to separate yourself from the sensory disturbances that happen to the mind. That's why they go into solitude. Because all the time if you are caught up in various activities. In fact, Dzogchen even says, after you meditate for some time, you might develop some certain powers and people will gather around you. You say, this is hell, run away. Stay away. Because there, go into solitude, spend your time going deeper within until you touch that. After you have touched it, doesn't matter who comes or who goes, doesn't matter. So it is the same thing here referred to as the Brahman. And Om is not, don't consider Om to be a denominational Hindu word or anything of that kind. It's a sound. It's a sound. It's nothing to do with any Sanskritized. What about the Buddhist mantra? Om Mani Padme Hum. There is Om. Of course, the Sufis don't use Om, they use Hu. Hu is actually the middle part of Om, U, with Arabic guttural Hu. U becomes Hu, that's all. Not WHO, Hu. So it is the sound, Om is a sound, and it's supposed to be the eternal sound which represents the first sound that can issue forth from the Supreme Brahman, which is actually soundless. It is the connecting point between us, our mind, and that which is absolutely silence. So it is the voice of the silence actually, the Om. So it's a link, it's a connecting link, it's a sound. Rishis searched for many years before they found out that this sound Om links one with the Supreme Being. Even without understanding the meaning of Om, the sound Om. In this context, it may not be so important, but I would like you to refer to a book which has come out recently about a neurologist, a neurosurgeon who died. I mean, died meaning he had meningitis of the spinal cord, so he was down, and nobody thought that he's going to come back. He was gone. And then one day he came back. Nobody knows how he came back. He says he had a vision in which somebody came and said, "Come, get up." So anyway, and he has no background of Hindu scriptures, no background about Indian culture, nothing. He's a Pakka American neurologist, somewhere in Texas. Now, he says after he died, he felt that first he got into some kind of a sticky muck surrounded with, it was very painful, he was trying to come out of it. And then he suddenly heard a sound, a vibratory sound. And the sound was Om. He has never heard of Om in his life. He has nothing to do with Om, he is not a Pandit, he is nothing. He said the only sound he could hear was a reverberating Om which appeared from somewhere and that got into his guts. And then from there he could come out of that sticky mess, that mud, and float beautifully out. And he says somebody then came him and showed him around and said, "Don't worry, you just shifted from one room to another." So, I'm saying about the Om. People usually say that Om is something to do with the religion. It's a primordial sound. You don't have to connect it with any religion. The very fact that every mantra adds Om in front as Pranava shows that its effect is so well known that it is added with every mantra. Everything, Om Brahman, Brahman. So, everything is Om means Om being the manifest sound of the Supreme Brahman, which is everything. Therefore, it is considered to be the same as the Brahman. You can't touch the Brahman, but you can hear the Om. While Om and Brahman are the same, you can't hear the Brahman or touch the Brahman. In fact, the very sentence, "I can touch the Brahman," is contradictory, because when I am there, there cannot be the Supreme Brahman. I have to go out completely. Right? So, but something that represents Brahman we can hear, which is the Om. And Om is the sound issuing forth from Brahman. You know, the word Brahman comes from the root Brah, which means to expand. And in that ever expanding, whatever it is, you can't say anything more than that. Nobody has ever said. So from that, the only sound you can hear is Om. And therefore, even though Om is the same as the Brahman, because it issues forth from Brahman, and since that is the only thing you can hear and not the Brahman, therefore, since both are same, Om is important to us because that is what we can hear. Then, Atman is Brahman. Now the understanding is, when the mind is absolutely clear and calm and quiet, with no distractions or impurities of any kind, when it is neither attracted nor repulsed by anything, when it treats everything as the same, good or bad, that's not the starting point, okay, when one has reached there. And when that happens, then the ordinary mind has disappeared, and in its place is the essence of consciousness, which is not different from the Brahman. And it is that which makes us say I, although we have construed a separate I from it. Without that, I cannot say I. But it is not the I which I normally say I am. The Upanishad, another Upanishad says, "Yan manasa namanyute yanahur manomatam." This the mind cannot understand. But because of which the mind owes its existence to, which we call awareness. You can't have awareness without that Atman, which is none other than the Supreme Brahman. You consider the Atman as separate, but as the mind gets purified and purified, the separation vanishes and there is only the Brahman. That doesn't mean you become unconscious or lose your ID. From your small ID, you become a large ID, big ID, and realize that the same Atman is in every heart, that it is not different. Therefore, this Atman, which says I, when I wake up from deep sleep and say, I exist, that time is almost pure. But then when I exist, you exist, so then it's split, becomes two. That essence of my awareness, which is the self, is the Atman. And then the Atman owes its existence to the Brahman, because without which it cannot have consciousness. Consciousness is not a material thing. The mind is matter. However you purify the mind, it's still matter. Why? Because it is brain consciousness. Thoughts spring from the brain. We are asking, is there a consciousness which is other than the brain? Or is there a consciousness which is aware of all the things that the brain does? We are saying, is there a person sitting and looking at this complex computer which works on its own? But the person who is sitting there is aware of what's going on. Otherwise it can go on, but nobody is aware. Computer will work, of course. So this computer thought is the brain thought. And that which watches, the awareness, is the Brahman. It's not thought which is produced by the brain. It's that which is beyond. All thought produced by the brain has a language. You cannot think without a language. Think. Some language will come. We are saying, is there a thought without a language? Yes, there is. The awareness of everything going on. And that is the Atman. And that is not different from the Brahman. When you have removed all impurities from the mind, in its crystal clear state, there is no difference then between. The corollary to this is, therefore, there is no difference between anybody. All are equal here. Just as we finished talking about high Vedanta, and somebody is listening, thinking he knows, I don't know, and so on, and then we go to the toilet, we are equal. Everybody is standing there, not ladies, of course. One line, equal, because everybody has human problems. You can't stay, you have to go. Right? In the same way, when this is understood, everything is the same. So therefore, Om is Brahman. That Brahman is not different from Om. And since the Brahman is everything that is here, past, present and future, therefore the Om is everything that is here, past, present and future. So this is the relation between Om and... If Om is Brahman and Brahman is Atman, then Om is Atman. That is your question, final. What is the relationship between Om, Brahman and Atman? According to the Upanishad, there is no difference. It is the same. There is one difference. Om is something you can grasp. And it takes you to the ungraspable Om, which is Brahman, which cannot be described by sound. Yad vacha anabhyutitam, than which words cannot describe. But this sound is the lead towards that Brahman. I'll come to the practical aspect later. The second is Pragnya. The deep sleep state is equated with Ishvara. So how are Turiya and Ishvara different? Which sloka does this refer to? Yatra supto, from there it's fifth.
Yes.
Where one being fast asleep does not desire anything and does not see any dream whatsoever, whose sphere of activity is the state of deep sleep, who has become one, who is merely a mass of cognition, who is full of bliss, who only enjoys bliss, and whose face is thought. Beautiful description. This is the Lord of all. Esha Sarvesura, Esha Sarvajna, Esha Antaryami, Esha Yoni Sarvasya, Prabhavapyayuhi Bhutana. This is the Lord of all. This is the knower of all. This is the inner controller. This is the source of all. And this is the beginning and end. Nowhere has Ishvara been used. The word Ishvara has not been used. Sarveshwara means that is that which is the Lord of everything, not as Ishvara. Sarveshwara, the Lord of everything. So what does that mean?
Notes it says.
Notes may be written by somebody else.
Deep sleep is equated.
Whose notes? Whose notes? So there are notes different, written by different people. Sarveshwara, that means the Lord of all. Why? Because in deep sleep, not Pragnya, it's also called Pragnya, but it is actual word is Shushupti. Shushupti is deep sleep. In deep sleep is surely different from Turiya. Otherwise, they would not have said Turiya and Shushupti separately. Okay? Now what happens in deep sleep? You are the Lord of everything. Why? Because there is no outward cognition, there is no inward cognition, there is no world. You even don't know where you are, whether you exist. Right? So you are the Lord of your complete destiny. When you wake up, it all comes back. But when you are in that state, you are controlling everything without the knowledge of the conscious mind. Otherwise, when we control, we have a knowledge of the conscious mind. Here, it is completely done. You can say subconscious or superconscious way. These two terms can be interchanged, according to me. So, in that state of absolute bliss, unfortunately, you are not aware of it. Are you aware of it when you are deeply sleeping? Dream, yes. In dream state, you are aware. But in deep sleep, we don't know. And that's why we rest. Because I have gone. If I have gone, what is left? The Brahman. And what is Brahman? Sarvesura, the Lord of everything. You get what I am trying to say? In deep sleep, it does not exist. It is finished. Okay? And because it is not there, then what is there? Something has to be there. Our inner consciousness, the essence of our consciousness, which is called the Brahman, is there, and so he is called Sarveshwara, the Lord of all, because it is that which sits inside and operates this whole world for us when we are awake. When you are deep sleep, it is doing nothing. It's in its own, it's in what is called Anantasana. You have seen Vishnu in Anantasana. That is deep sleep, dreamless deep sleep in complete bliss. However, you are not aware of it at that point. We are not aware of it. But surely it was a blissful state, because when we wake up, we always say, what a blissful sleep. There is a memory of the bliss, right? Although at that time we didn't know. When we wake up, we are carrying a memory of that beautiful sleep. So much so that we don't want to wake up. In the morning when you, after deep sleep, the alarm rings, you want to switch it off and lay down, because you want to go back to the bliss, because you're going to your source, you are the Sarvesura there. You don't want to come out. So the point is that even though you're not aware at that point in deep sleep, that you are in fact blissful Supreme Brahman, you certainly were there, because when you wake up, you feel that you had a blissful sleep. You're aware of that bliss only when you wake up, not exactly when you're there. Now you have asked, what is the difference between Turiya And here you said Ishwara, but I think what you mean is what is the difference between Turiya and Sarvesura in the state of Sushupti, deep sleep. That's what you're asking. Right. There is only one difference. If by some chance, in that deep sleep, you became aware, that is Turiya. It's not possible, huh? So you can't reach Turiya through deep sleep, then everybody will. This is an example they are showing that the Upanishad says, suppose it is possible to wake up in that, not wake up, aware, become aware of that, then you touch Turiya. But you are not aware. You are aware only when you open your eyes and say, that was a blissful sleep. Suppose there is a chance that you are awake during that deep sleep, then you are Brahman. That is the difference between Turiya and Sushupti. Awareness is not there in Sushupti, awareness is there in Turiya. However, you cannot reach Turiya through Sushupti. You can reach only through the waking state. Okay, we'll come to that. But because deep sleep is there, you have a hint. Oh, it's possible. There's a hint. It's possible. There is something like that. But you cannot reach it through the sleep. It can be reached only through from the waking state.